Perfecto. Ok, webcast tiene audio ya. Vamos a inglés.
Buenos días a todos.
Good morning, everyone. After having verified the quorum with the Secretariat, I would like to bring to order this regular session of the Permanent Council to begin our work in keeping with the provisions of Article 43 of the Rules of Procedure. I'd like to submit to your consideration the draft order of business, which is document CPOD 2587/26. If there are no objections, we can adopt it. Adopted. Before we move forward, the chair would like to state, on behalf of the Permanent Council, its most heartfelt condolences to the delegation of Suriname, as well as the government and the people of that state, due to the recent passing of Mr. Chan Santkoti, the former president of the Republic of Suriname. We would also like to express our solidarity to his family members and close friends. Esteemed permanent representatives, Ms. Assistant Secretary General, permanent observers, colleagues from the General Secretariat. Now, this is the first regular session under the chairmanship of Costa Rica, which we assumed formally April 1st. I would like to reaffirm our commitment to the strengthening of political dialogue and multilateralism in our region. Our guiding light is diplomacy with a purpose, which is aimed at generating concrete results, strengthening trust in multilateralism, and ensuring timely compliance with the mandates that emanate from the General Assembly and other competent bodies at the OAS. The chair will highlight protection of human rights of all persons without distinction as a cross-cutting task. We will also prioritize strengthening of hemispheric cooperation and strategic partnerships, promoting coordination amongst member states and the entities of the Inter-American system, and also making regional initiatives and their impact more visible. We will continue to consolidate the Permanent Council as a space for political dialogue and consensus characterized by impartiality, transparency, and respect for sovereign equality of all states. And we will foster reflection on those people who have disabilities and the implementation of inter-American instruments of human rights. The chair will also pay close attention to the efficient and substantive preparation of the 56th regular session of the General Assembly, as well as commemoration of the Pan-American 2026 week, highlighting the historic relevance of the OAS as well as its current relevance, and also reinforcing democratic values, cooperation, hemispheric peace, this around a work that is inclusive, safe, and secure and respectful. And in doing so, the chair will make efficient use of resources, streamlining programming of our sessions, and optimizing time for deliberation in close coordination with the General Secretariat, the Office of the Assistant Secretary General, and the chairs of the permanent committees. I will be very strict with respect to our compliance of the rules of procedures, and also I will promote informal consultations with the coordinators of regional groups as well as with the chairs of the permanent council, permanent committees and the CD, following on the best practices of former chairs in order to ensure decisions that are orderly, consensus-based, and well founded. I trust that together we will be able to move forward to achieve our goals. Together, we can strengthen effective multilateralism, improve the well-being of our peoples, and consolidate an inter-American system that is inclusive, democratic, and one that can take on and grapple with the challenges of our region. In this spirit of continuity and learning based on former chairs, I have the honor of recognizing the incredible work of our colleague and friend, Ambassador Luis Ernesto Vargas, who was the chair of the Permanent Council during the first quarter of 2026. Under his chairmanship, the Permanent Council benefited from constructive leadership, a commitment to dialogue and hemispheric cooperation, and a dedication to strengthening the operations and coordinations of the Permanent Council. Ambassador, thank you for your efforts and your professionalism. You were able to promote participation, respect, and collaboration between delegations, and giving an example of commitment and cooperation that we all deeply appreciate. On behalf of all delegations, I would like to express our thanks to you for your contribution to strengthening the Permanent Council as a fora for understanding, trust, and cooperation that benefits the entire region. For this reason, Ambassador, I would like you to please come to the head table as we have a small token of appreciation for you.
De nuevo, muchísimas gracias.
Again, thank you very much, Ambassador Vargas. Before I move on to the next item, I want to underscore that the chair will ensure efficient use of time during sessions, both for interventions of delegations as well as interventions of panelists. I please ask you that you strictly follow the time frame established in the rules of procedure. In this sense, I would invite delegations. If you have an intervention that goes beyond the stipulated time, that you openly and transparently sends us your intervention so that we can circulate it to everyone. And that way it will be recorded on the minutes of the meeting. And that way we can be respectful and we can be strict about time. Finally, together with us today, we have a visit, students who are participating in the Washington Model OAS 2026. And I welcome all of you here, dear students. We will have the participation of students from Notre Dame of Maryland University, United States Air Force Academy, University of Pennsylvania, and Shippensburg University. We are so happy to have you here with us. We hope that you can enjoy this experience and understand close up how the Permanent Council works and learn about the Inter-American system by being right here at the heart of it. So let us continue with our order of business. Based on the request made by our Secretary General, Albert Ramdin, I'd like to again welcome Dr. Carlos Ayala Corrado the head of the Special Mission for the Strengthening of Democratic Institutions in Guatemala. He will present an updated report on the work of this mission. Dr. Ayala, welcome. You have the floor for a maximum 7.5 minutes. Thank you very much to the Chair of the Permanent Council, Ambassador Solana, Secretary General Ramdin, Assistant Secretary General Laura Gil, ambassadors and guests. It is an honor to once again to come before this distinguished Permanent Council in keeping with the mandate that has been conferred upon the Special Mission for the Strengthening of Democratic Institutions in Guatemala. Allow me, first of all, to recognize the work of my colleagues who make up this mission, Dr. Tovar and Paulina Suarez. I'd also like to thank Secretary General Albert Ramdin for the trust deposited in the mission and also for institutional support. Secretary Kalchevich for his general support, and Maria Teresa Valencam and Carlos Casanova for all their technical and professional support. To date, we have written 3 reports, press releases, and other documents, and 3 visits to the country, and multiple meetings with different actors, sectors, and institutions. Guatemala is going through a decisive period of time to renew its institutions. And so public trust depends not only on election processes for high-level persons, but that these be traceable, transparent, in keeping with constitutional order, and mechanisms that can be verified with respect to the elections. Since my first report to the Permanent Council, Guatemala has had institutional developments that are very important, and we have had the renewal processes of the Supreme Electoral Tribunal and the Constitutional Court. In both cases, legal formalities were complied with, but the processes lacked traceability and were opaque. And with respect to the Constitutional Court, there was a judicial intervention to exclude different people and groups, and there was intimidation that was done by the Attorney General's office when there was voting. The second visit was aimed at deepening institutional dialogue as well as following up on the main challenges. The third visit took place at a very sensitive transitional moment. As the result of that mission, a press release was published, and we had our observations therein. Notwithstanding the follow-up of all processes, I wanted to talk about the immediate events that have taken place, and I want to talk about the renewal and election of university positions at the University of San Carlos. We have the election of the president of that university, and we are following this very closely, given the constitutional importance of this university in designating high-level positions in the state. Unfortunately, public information shows that there are acts of violence against the university community yesterday, and the decisions of the Superior Council to ignore the results of elections that have taken place in different schools at the university, which are adverse to the person elected as president. So we had to make a statement condemning what happened, and we stated that this needs to be more transparent, certain, and we need to have a lowering of the level of violence and tension. Now I want to talk also about the composition of the Constitutional Court. The judges elected were sworn in March, but there are still still amparo appeals and legal proceedings that have been instituted. And so the inauguration, which is planned for April 14th, needs to take place in a normal way without interventions. And so the mission is paying close attention to the situation. And finally, I want to briefly refer to the election system or the election of the Attorney General. We believe that the committee for candidates needs to have a substantive, verifiable debate about the different candidates that will be on the short list to be sent to the President of the Republic. We need to have the professional merits of the candidates, their honorability, probity, and suitability and capacity to ensure the independence of the office of the Attorney General based on impartiality, and which allows citizens to understand why they are the candidates. We will have a fourth official visit from 14th to 16th April to follow up on this decisive moment in the country. We will pay close attention to the expectations of Guatemalan society. And so the constructive support of the Council will be key to strengthen democracy, legal certainty, and institutional stability in Guatemala. Finally, I want to thank the countries and organs that have supported us and the constant support of the OAS office in Guatemala. Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ayala, for that presentation. At this time, I want to open up the floor, and Guatemala has asked for the floor first. Thank you, Chair. I wanted to avail myself of this opportunity to congratulate you on your chairmanship of the Permanent Council, and I wish you all the best at the head of the council. And I want to thank Dr. Carlos Ayala Corrado, the head of this mission for strengthening democratic institutions in Guatemala, for his updated report and for his sustained strengthening of our democracy in Guatemala. As the Council knows, Guatemala is experiencing a key period of institutional renewal. We are electing positions that are key for our democracy. For example, the electoral tribunals, the Supreme Electoral Tribunal, the Attorney General, the General Comptroller, among others. On March 20th, the new Electoral Tribunal was inaugurated, and next week the Constitutional Court will be inaugurated. With respect to the designation of the head of the Public Prosecutor's Office, the Attorney General, the president should receive a short list of 6 candidates in mid-April. So this is the decisive phase because the short list is being decided on. This is key for Guatemala. Legal institutions are important for the rule of law in my country. Unfortunately, we have witnessed the adverse effects of their weaponization by some actors that are challenging them. This has had serious consequences, among others, the criminalization of social actors, journalists, and others, and attempts to alter the constitutional order, among others, by trying to take over these electoral processes. So the support of the international community, and in particular the OAS, have been key for defending democracy in Guatemala, and that backing has created conditions which has allowed us to preserve our institutional democratic or democratic institutions, excuse me. We are aware that democratic processes are not linear and they face challenges, but it is encouraging that we continue forward in keeping with our Constitution to renew these institutions. We believe it is essential that we have international cooperation and observation in upcoming weeks, which will be decisive for the future of my country. At the same time, we must recognize that there are risks that persist. For example, undue exclusion of candidates, criminalization of people who are involved in these processes, and also actors intervening to try to weaken our institutions. We want to have transparency, legality, judicial independence, and due process. We reaffirm our commitment to the strengthening of the rule of law, independence of the powers of the state, and an inclusive government that is at the service of its citizens. We thank the Organization of American States and the member states for their support, and we want to continue to work constructively with the special mission for the strengthening of democratic institutions in this very decisive phase for my country. We also want to thank the people who are in the mission and also the Department for Strengthening Democracy. And from the 14th to the 16th of April, we will have the special mission in our country for the fourth time. We believe this shows the commitment to institutional processes that are underway in my country. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for your words. And now we give the floor to Argentina. Good morning, dear colleagues, Chair. Congratulations on your leadership, and also my thanks to the Ambassador of Colombia, the former chair. I wish you great success at the head of the Permanent Council, and I thank everyone who is at the head table. We want to thank the Special Mission for Strengthening of Democratic Institutions in Guatemala for this updated report, and we highlight their work in this country through official visits and also their press releases. International observation plays a key role so that different electoral processes can move forward in a normal way in keeping with democratic norms. As we have already stated, we celebrate the fact that we can support democracy by having this alert system and that we can strengthen democratic institutions. Not so long ago, we have had to have special meetings to try to intervene in a virtuous way to support countries or a specific country so that everyone can speak their minds and thereby help in observation missions so that democratic processes can go forward in a normal way so that we have an expression of popular will at the polls. We continue to do this with Guatemala. We are working for a fully democratic hemisphere in order to uphold the principles that are enshrined in the Inter-American Democratic Charter. Thank you very much, Ambassador, and I'd like to give the floor to Brazil. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the chair and congratulate her on her chairmanship. And I want to thank her for her work. We support her, and we thank also Ambassador Vargas for his work. And thank Dr. Carlos Ayala Corral, the chief of the Special Mission for the Strengthening of Democratic Institutions in Guatemala. In keeping with recent events, it seems that some institutional processes should be followed very closely. The election of the president of the University of San Carlos, the inauguration of the Constitutional Court, and also choosing the person who will be the upcoming Attorney General. And we need to highlight something in common of all these processes. They need to be managed in keeping with Guatemalan law with respect to applicable legal requirements, as well as the processes and rules of procedure of each institution. We are concerned about the attempts to abuse prerogatives, to undermine democratic processes. For example, the repeated questioning of electoral results of 2023. We are also concerned about the press release we received yesterday with respect to the violent acts as far as the election of the president of the university are concerned. Now, with respect to institutions of the state, their weaponization to intimidate people and undermine democracy weakens public trust in institutions. We reiterate the importance that all Guatemalan institutions need to carry out their functions with respect to the law and with respect to their functions. And we hope and suggest that the Secretary General will continue to strengthen democracy in Guatemala. We understand that we need to provide constructive support to the authorities in the country with a view to ensuring legal certainty and democratic order in the country. We will continue to work with Guatemala and the Secretary General in order to strengthen democratic institutions in Guatemala. Thank you very much, Ambassador. And now Canada has the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Allow me first to welcome you as Chair of the Permanent Council and to offer you my delegation's support and to wish you the greatest success during your term. I'd also like to thank your predecessor, Ambassador Vargas, for his excellent work at the helm of this council. We would like to thank Dr. Carlos Ayala for his excellent work as head of the OAS Special Mission for the strengthening of democratic institutions in Guatemala. And we thank him also for his presentation on the mission's most recent visit. We have heard about the situation in Guatemala, which is extremely important, and we need to continue to follow this issue closely. Canada is following events and developments very closely, and we would like to commend the special mission for its efforts to strengthen democratic institutions in Guatemala.
We remain concerned about the pressures that the OAS Special Mission has identified, pressures which seek to unduly influence upcoming democratic processes in favor of illegitimate interests and organized crime. We know that in the next few weeks, especially including the selection of the next Attorney General, this period will be especially critical for the future health of democracy and rule of law in Guatemala. The OAS Special Mission has called for transparency, respect for the rule of law, and adherence to international conventions and treaties related to the independence of judicial institutions. In doing so, the Special Mission advances the raison d'etre of the OAS according to its Article 2 of the Charter, which is to promote and consolidate representative democracy in the Americas. Canada remains a committed partner in strengthening Guatemala's democratic institutions and in supporting the OAS's vital role to advance democratic governments there as well as across the region. We reiterate Canada's solidarity with the people of Guatemala and our steadfast commitment to supporting their democracy, human rights, and rule of law. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for those comments and for your words of support. I now offer the floor to Colombia. Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Firstly, as others before me, I would like to congratulate you as well on becoming chair of the Permanent Council. I know that it is difficult to also be handling the preparations for the OAS General Assembly. We'd like to express our support for your term as chair, and we know you will be very successful. We also thank you for including this item on today's agenda because it is a very important one for the OAS. And to our friend Dr. Carlos Ayala, we thank you for your work as head of the OAS Special Mission for the Strengthening of Democratic Institutions in Guatemala. We'd also like to express our gratitude for his presentation and valuable comments. The report is very rigorous. Colombia is closely following these important events in Guatemala with full respect for its sovereignty and under the principle of non-intervention, with trust in the strength of its democratic institutions. And for this reason, we thank the government of President Arevalo for allowing the OAS to contribute to this process. We underscore the value of the OAS Special Mission, which has provided technical support that is so important for promoting transparency, strengthening trust in institutions, and facilitating dialogue among all parties involved. We also appreciate the fact that institutions and elections are following constitutional deadlines. Those who have spoken before me have evoked our concerns regarding the undue interference, which we also see reported on in the mission's press statements. This can affect the normal unfolding of these processes. We also believe that it is key that the nominating committee act in a fully independent manner to ensure that the final shortlist of candidates for Attorney General contain candidates who meet all of the formal requirements and who also demonstrate integrity and commitment to what the people of Guatemala need, as well as the principle of non-repetition. This has been denounced on many occasions, and we saw this back in 2023. Lastly, we reiterate our call for this phase to take place with full respect for the Constitution and the law, without undue obstacles, without interference, so that institutions can be strengthened as well as citizens' trust. Colombia will continue to support all efforts to strengthen democracy in Guatemala. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ambassador, for your message of support and for your comments. I now offer the floor to Chile. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. You can also count on our delegation and our support. We would like to express our thanks to the OAS Special Mission for the Strengthening of Democratic Institutions in Guatemala. We fully support this mechanism. We fully share the mission's call for transparency in processes to elect high-level officials and respect for constitutional order, institutional continuity, and legitimacy of positions. We celebrate the fact that the Supreme Electoral Tribunal held successful elections. Their magistrates need to be independent and fully adhere to the constitutional framework because they are responsibility for enforcing constitutional and legal principles regarding elections. With respect to the Constitutional Court, Chile hopes that the swearing-in scheduled for 14 April can take place with institutional normalcy. Legal certainty is provided by this institution and is needed for the country's democratic stability. With respect to the election of the Attorney General and head of the Public Prosecutor's Office, this also needs to meet all legal requirements and candidates need to have integrity. These offices are important for citizen trust in institutions. Madam Chair, Chile reaffirms its belief that respect for sovereignty cannot lead to indifference when there are democratic challenges in our region. We support the supporting role of the OAS Special Mission, and we urge it to continue in a spirit of cooperation and solidarity with the entire hemisphere. Thank you. Thank you, Chile, for those words of support. I now offer the floor to Panama. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. You can also count on Panama to make your term as chair of the Permanent Council a great success. We appreciate the inclusion of this item on today's order of business for today's session, and we take note of the presentation by Dr. Carlos Ayala Corrado, head of the OAS Special Mission. This reflects the OAS's commitment to support and transparency for high-level processes involving democratic institutions in the hemisphere. The independence of branches of government are one of the key pillars in our hemisphere. These principles guide actions by governments and are the basis of our collective responsibility to address institutional challenges that may lead to democratic instability. Panama is closely following the electoral processes underway in Guatemala, specifically the election of the Supreme Electoral Tribunal, the Constitutional Court, and the Attorney General of the Public Prosecutor's Office. The two first processes followed constitutional deadlines. These institutional changes took place as planned and reflect Guatemala's commitment to democratic principles and should be recognized here by our council. However, we do take note and are closely following attempts at undue interference in these processes, particularly those aimed at creating obstacles to legitimate processes, attempts at delaying these processes. We see this by actors who are not interested in transparency of institutions. We are also closely following the elections of the Attorney General and head of the Public Prosecutor's Office, which are scheduled to take place in the coming weeks. These are important for Guatemalan institutions, and we are very hopeful that these processes will take place as normal with respect for the Constitution. We appreciate the impartial and rigorous work of the Special Mission, whose reports are a significant contribution to transparency of these electoral processes. We also recognize the complementary efforts by the European Union and the independent expert panel who have reached the same conclusions as the OAS Special Mission. Panama trusts that the processes underway in Guatemala will take place with respect for constitutional order and in line with international commitments made by the country. We urge the Special Mission to continue its work and support, and we very much look forward to following what takes place in the coming weeks. I thank you. Thank you, Panama, for your support and for your comments. I now offer the floor to Uruguay. Thank you very much, Chair. We would also like to echo the solidarity expressed by others for your term as chair of the council. We are very appreciative that this item was included on the order of business in order to address these constitutional threats in Guatemala, and we appreciate the head of the mission's report. We are concerned by events in Guatemala and want full respect for its sovereignty. Our country places a great deal of importance on maintaining constitutional order in the country and protecting the human rights of all Guatemalan people. As such, we appreciate the important work of the OAS Special Mission, and we take note of its press releases, which underscore the undue interference in these electoral processes, particularly the use of legal action to block access by elected officials to the positions to which they've been elected. With respect to the election of the president of the University of San Carlos, we call upon all relevant authorities to ensure that the accreditation takes place with full respect for current rules, with participation of those who have been legitimately elected, and without any sort of discriminatory action that can affect the outcomes of the election. We also look forward to the swearing in of the Supreme Electoral Tribunal and the new magistrates of the Constitutional Court. We hope that their swearing in and taking office can take place without any lack of respect for constitutional order. We look forward to following the elections of the Attorney General and head of the Public Prosecutor's Office. It is important for these to be transparent, participatory, and we need to be able to select the most ideal candidates who are able to take on these serious responsibilities. We reject any attempt at undue interference in these processes for political purposes, and we call upon all actors to act with responsibility and full respect for the Constitution. Lastly, we reiterate our support for the observation work being done by the OAS Special Mission to follow events in the country in accordance with its mandate, and we respect the sovereignty of Guatemala with full respect for the OAS Democratic Charter and the Inter-American Charter as well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those comments and for your words of support. I now offer the floor to the Dominican Republic. Madam Chair of the Permanent Council, Assistant Secretary General, distinguished representatives and permanent observers. Chair, before delving into the topic at hand, I'd like to congratulate you and wish you success as Chair of the Permanent Council. You can count on the support of my delegation. We would also like to express our thanks for the work carried out by the previous Chair, Ambassador Vargas. Chair, the delegation of the Dominican Republic expresses thanks for the update and report from Dr. Carlos Ayala Corrado, head of the Special Mission for the Strengthening of Democratic Institutions in Guatemala. We recognize also the efforts made by the OAS Secretary General and the Secretariat for the Strengthening of Democracy, who have provided ongoing support for the institutional processes going on in Guatemala. Our government reiterates its firm support to the defense and promotion of democratic principles, respect for the rule of law, and strengthening of institutions. In this spirit, we express our support for the sister republic of Guatemala at a key time for its democratic institutions. We also recognize the importance of the work being done by the OAS Special Mission, whose observation, mission, support, and dialogue have helped create a comprehensive understanding of the processes that are underway. We especially value the visits carried out and the many meetings held with institutional, social, and other actors, which has allowed for very close and objective monitoring of the situation. We take note of the progress made in Guatemala as part of these second-level elections, namely the re-election of the members of the Supreme Electoral Tribunal and the upcoming swearing-in of the Constitutional Court, all of which are taking place based on constitutional deadlines. These are positive steps towards institutional stability within the country. At the same time, we are closely watching the challenges noted in the report, specifically those related to possible interference, outside pressure, and the use of legal mechanisms that could affect the transparency and independence of these processes. We are particularly concerned by attempts to interfere in the election of the Attorney General, which is a fundamental process for ensuring justice and fighting impunity. In this context, we would also like to underscore the importance of international observation missions by the OAS Special Mission, as well as other complementary mechanisms, who have reach the same conclusions about the need to have transparent processes that follow the Constitution and are free from undue interference. The Dominican Republic calls upon all parties involved to act with a sense of accountability, with respect for the legal framework, and to ensure equal conditions for participation by all. We also hope that the final phase of these processes can take place without delay, undue interference, and with full respect for democratic principles. We reiterate our support for Guatemala and the OAS's efforts to strengthen democratic institutions in the region. I thank you. Thank you, Ambassador, for those words of support and for your comments. I now offer the floor to the U.S.
Thank you, sir, for the update on the work of the OAS Special Mission for Strengthening of Democratic Institutions in Guatemala, and we note the mission's technical engagement. We will review the written update with great interest, and the United States looks forward to continued dialogue as Guatemala moves through this important period. For the United States, the core issue is that these processes are conducted in a manner that is lawful, transparent, orderly, timely, and free of malign influence. Under the Trump administration, the U.S. government emphasizes respect for national sovereignty and constitutional order, alongside consistent support of credible, legally grounded institutional processes that uphold democracy and reduce the risk of instability. Thank you, Chair.
Muchas gracias por sus palabras. Ahora...
Thank you very much. I now offer the floor to Ecuador. Thank you, Chair. First, as delegation of Ecuador, we'd like to congratulate you and wish you the greatest success during your term. The Republic of Ecuador expresses its thanks for the report on the OAS Special Mission for the strengthening of democratic institutions in Guatemala. Our delegation refers to the press release published at the end of March regarding its third official visit, and we are pleased with the taking of office of the magistrates of the Supreme Electoral Tribunal. In addition to the 9th term of the Constitutional Court, whose magistrates will be sworn in on April 14th. Our delegation continues to follow closely the elections of the Attorney General and head of the Public Prosecutor's Office, and we hope that these processes can take place successfully so that the Guatemalan people can realize their aspiration of strengthening democratic institutions in their country. My delegation is concerned by the most recent press release from the OAS Special Mission. We urge Guatemalan authorities to take all necessary actions to ensure the legality and legitimacy of the election of the president of the University of San Carlos, bearing in mind the university's important role in democratic elections in the country. We welcome the work of the special mission, and we underscore the dialogue held with different organizations within the government, civil society, business, and professional sectors. And we appreciate the dedication to supporting democratic processes in this sister nation. We also support the efforts of the people and government of Guatemala to strengthen their democracy, and we trust that these second-level electoral processes will take place with transparency in order to ensure democratic governance, independence of government branches, all for the benefit of the Guatemalan people. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ecuador, for your message and your support. Now that we have come to the end of the permanent representatives, we offer the floor to the permanent observers, France. Chair, ASG, delegations, we wish to extend congratulations and our wishes for success to the chair of the Permanent Council. We thank her predecessor and appreciate this commitment. We appreciate the work of the OAS to strengthen democratic institutions in Guatemala, and we would like to extend our thanks for this progress report. We know that elections of these authorities are extremely important for democracy and rule of law in Guatemala. France has provided financial support to the OAS Special Mission, and we support the OAS's commitment to these electoral processes. We welcome the fact that constitutional deadlines were followed for elections and for the appointments of judges to both courts. We also are following closely the candidates running for the position of Attorney General. This needs to be transparent, and candidates need to be evaluated in an objective manner, taking into account their professional skills, background, and their integrity. In line with other comments, France would also like to express concerns over the critical situation at the University of San Carlos and the election of the president, which is supposed to take place today. Unfortunately, this has been a biased process, and we call upon institutions in Guatemala to take into account these facts to ensure that elections take place transparently and without interference. France will continue to closely follow these processes, given its dedication to the strengthening of democratic institutions in Guatemala. I thank you. Thank you very much to the permanent observer of France, and now offer the floor to our next speaker. Thank you very much. We would also like to thank your predecessor, Ambassador Vargas, and thank you for including this on today's order of business.
Distinguished ambassadors, alternate representatives, colleagues of the General Secretariat. I requested that the presentation of the Special Mission for the Strengthening of Democratic Institutions in Guatemala be included on the agenda of this Council because I firmly believe that the work being carried out there clearly demonstrates the value that this organization can bring to the construction of more effective, participatory, and resilient democracies. Democracy is not something that can be taken for granted. It's not a given. Rather, it depends on our shared efforts to defend it, to renew it, and to make it more responsive and effective in delivering concrete results for our societies. In this context, and precisely considering the events described by the head of mission, as well as the difficulties and challenges that cut across this process, the relevance and timeliness of the cooperation that the organization is providing Guatemala become particularly clear. These circumstances underscores the importance of constructive, sustained, and technically grounded international accompaniment. The experience of Guatemala illustrates how a technical and specialized mission can make a tangible difference by facilitating dialogue among stakeholders, putting forward recommendations, observing institutional processes, and contributing in practical terms to the strengthening of democratic governance. Strong and effective institutions capable of delivering results while remaining transparent, open to participation, and subject to citizen oversight are essential if we are to meet the challenge we face in an increasingly complex world. This is precisely the kind of engagement that reflects our collective commitment to democracy, not as an abstract principle, but as a living process that requires sustained and timely support, professionalism, and cooperation. In this spirit, I wish to reaffirm that the General Secretariat will continue to accompany Guatemala closely during this important phase of institutional renewal, working alongside national actors and in full respect of their sovereignty to support efforts aimed at consolidating democratic institutions and the rule of law. Thank you, President.
Muchas gracias al
Thank you very much to Mr. Kraljevich for this very important message on behalf of Secretary General Albert Ramdin. Seeing no further requests for the floor, I would like to once again thank Dr. Ayala for his presentation, and through him also thank everything that the OAS Special Mission has done for the strengthening of democratic institutions in Guatemala. We also thank Maria Paulina Aguirre, Marcela Rios, and the entire team from the Secretariat for the Strengthening of Democracy under the leadership of Secretary Kraljevic. And we also appreciate valuable coordination offered by Maria Teresa Mellencamp. Thank you all so much. The chair suggests that the Permanent Council take note of the report and all of the important comments by delegations. We reiterate our ongoing support for the efforts by the people and government of Guatemala to promote democratic strengthening. Seeing no objections, it is so agreed. Moving on with the order of business, we will now consider the item on the mechanism for systematizing information under the Inter-American Democratic Charter. This was prepared by the Secretariat for the Strengthening of Democracy pursuant to the mandate of Resolution 3029 of the General Assembly. As delegations will recall, at the regular session on 4 March, the Permanent Council agreed to remand this proposal to the CAP under the leadership of Ambassador Belli of Brazil, in order to review its possible budget repercussions and later report to this council on their conclusions and recommendations.
In compliance therewith, through the note distributed as document CP Doc 6195/26, Chair Belli of the CAP reported that at the meeting on 24th March, the committee considered that the adoption of this mechanism would not have an impact on the regular fund, taking into account that recurring expenses correspond to work hours already assigned to the Secretariat for the Strengthening of Democracy, and any additional costs would be covered with voluntary contributions without affecting the regular fund, in addition to the presentation of the accounts to the Permanent Council. Therefore, I would like to consult with the Permanent Council if we can proceed to approve this proposal. I do not see any objections, and therefore it is approved. Thank you all very much for your collaboration, especially Chair Belli, for considering this and for the report. Now let's move on to consider the request made by the delegation of Mexico. This with respect to the consultative meeting of CIFTA. I welcome this request, and I would like to give the floor to Ambassador Encinas to refer to the 25th regular meeting of the Consultative Committee of the Inter-American Convention against the illicit manufacturing and trafficking in firearms, ammunition, explosives, and other related materials, known as CIFTA. Ambassador Encinas, you have the floor. Thank you very much. First of all, like my other colleagues, I wanted to state that the delegation of Mexico wishes you great success at the helm of the Permanent Council, and you can count on our full support to attain the best results. The delegation of Mexico, as the pro tem secretary of the Committee on the regular meeting of the the Inter-American Convention on the illicit manufacturing and trafficking of firearms, I wanted to tell you that we are going to change the dates of the 25th regular meeting from 19th March. So we wanted to present a resolution to show this change in date, and we hope we can have your support for this. Thank you, Ambassador, for your support. We thank you. I'd like to consult with delegations. Can we agree to this amendment to Resolution 1299 of this Permanent Council to establish 19th of May 2026 as the new date to hold the 25th regular meeting of the Consultative Committee of the CIFTA. The floor is open. If there are no objections, we will agree to this new date, 19th of May. Thank you. It is agreed upon. Thank you. Let us now move on to the next item in keeping with subparagraph B of Article 48 of the Rules of Procedure. I'd like to submit to your consideration the proposal of this chair to convene a protocolary session of the Permanent Council on 14th of April, Tuesday, to together commemorate Pan American Day. This commemoration is especially important this year because it also coincides with two political and historical dates that are important for our hemisphere. The bicentennial of the Amphityonic Congress of Panama and the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence of the United States. These are important benchmarks for the construction of democratic values, cooperation, and regional unity. The chair, together with the delegations of Panama and the United States, consider that this protocolary session will be an excellent opportunity to strengthen the commitment of member states with democratic values, hemispheric identity, and inter-American cooperation. I wanted to add that this meeting will share expenses with another committee, and so it is not only an expense that will be undertaken by this committee, rather that this will be a shared expense. And I thank the Secretariat for that distribution. I'd like to know whether states agree. I see United States would like to take the floor. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The United States welcomes the proposal to convene a protocolary meeting of this Council on April 14th to commemorate Pan American Day. We appreciate Costa Rica's thoughtful framing of this year's observance, particularly the effort to connect Pan American Week both to the bicentennial of the Congress of Panama and to the approaching 250th anniversary of our nation's independence. It helps place Freedom 250 in a wider hemispheric story shaped by democratic ideas, Republican development, and inter-American cooperation. During President Trump's first term, Pan American Day and Pan American Week proclamations highlighted the historic legacy of the first International Conference of American States, the importance of the OAS, and themes of democracy, liberty, security, and hemispheric solidarity. In that spirit, Chair, the U.S. mission has already shared invitations for several complementary programs with delegations, including this afternoon's guided visit to the Daughters of the American Revolution Museum following this Permanent Council meeting, the Daughters of the American Revolution's America 250 program on Saturday, April 18th, and the White House Spring Garden Tour on Sunday, April 19th. We also look forward to hosting a book talk on Monday, April 20th at the Art Museum of the Americas with author Emily Sneff discussing her new book, When the Declaration of Independence Was News. And we hope all delegations will be able to join us for these activities. And so with these efforts in mind, we support the Chair's proposal and look forward to a meaningful commemoration of Pan American Day and the enduring value of the inter-American system. Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much, United States. I want to thank you for the efforts that you have undertaken with respect to these events. Our member states welcome them, and we thank you for the invitation, and we will be there. Would any other delegation like to take the floor?
Perfecto.
Wonderful. I'd like to know whether you can please come to the protocolary session to celebrate these different historical and political events. Thank you very much. It is so agreed. I'd like to take this opportunity to state that thanks to the contributions of Panama and the United States, we have worked on a concept note, and we will be sending it out today since we have your green light to move forward with this. Thank you again. Next item, we will now consider some matters sent to us by Albert Ramdim, our Secretary General. First, intention to appoint Ms. Patricia Kame as Inspector General of the General Secretariat. Based on the note from Secretary General Ramdim, which was distributed as CP Doc 6189/26, this appointment could not be considered before. So we have been consulting with the HR department. Ms. Kaim is at the head of those who were recommended by the auditing committee. So the Secretary General would like to have your approval in order to proceed as you believe suitable. I wanted to open the floor. Those who would like to refer to this first point. And now we are again referring to intention to appoint the new Inspector General of the General Secretariat.
En esta línea,
The chair would propose, therefore, that the Permanent Council take note of the intention to appoint Ms. Patricia Kaim as Inspector General of the General Secretariat. And we can convey to the Secretary General that we agree, delegations agree, so that he may proceed with that appointment. United States, you have the floor. After we agree, please go ahead before.
Thank you very much, Madam President. We, the United States, would like to consider referring the nomination of Ms. Kaim for assessment to the CAP to continue our regular procedures as we normally do. Thank you.
muchas gracias.
Thank you, United States. I believe with this request that we just heard, the chair of the Permanent Council therefore proposes that we forward this for consideration to the CAP. This is the intention to appoint Mrs. Patricia Kaim as Inspector General of the General Secretariat in keeping with the document indicated, so that member states may consider in the framework of CAP her appointment, and with the express request of Ambassador Belli, we would like to have a report of the results of these deliberations and any pertinent matters. And I see that the ambassador would like to speak. Ambassador Belli? Thank you, Chair. Of course, the chair of the CAP is at your disposal to undertake any work that you would like to send us. But remember that this process is one that's been going on for a long time. It is a selective process of nominations. This has been done in previous years. And we were waiting to having new IG after the election of the Secretary General. We were informed about the different steps in the process. There was a person who decided, unfortunately, to not undertake these functions due to personal reasons. And this candidate we have now is the one that has been recommended. I don't see any value added to sending this to CAP. I don't believe we can evaluate this person. This was already done technically through the established procedures. The CAP, its function is to review the process that already took place and to verify that the process was done correctly, that there was a competitive process, as we've already been informed. But if the member states want the CAP to review what it already reviewed, it would be a duplication of our work, but that's fine. But I just wanted to share that information with you because tell you we've already done this, and so this is to be repeated. Fine. I thank Ambassador Belli for describing that since this is a process that was already reviewed, perhaps you could analyze or evaluate this in an expeditious way. If you could include this on your agenda at an upcoming meeting, then I think member states can weigh in. I think if you just put it on your agenda, address it and send it back, that would be fine if you could do that, because that was the request of a member state. Thank you.
De manera que
Therefore, with this express request for the collaboration of our committee, it's important. Ambassador Belli is doing a great job at the head of CAP, and so I would ask he put this item on his agenda, and we hope that quickly we will have his report so we can move forward. Thank you very much. So we will be forwarding this to CAP, and we hope that quickly we will have a report from Ambassador Belli. Thank you so very much. And it is so agreed. Let us proceed with the second point, this with respect to the document sent by Secretary General Ramdim to this Permanent Council. This is the financial position of the Pan American Institute of Geography and History, in keeping with the note of the Secretary General sent to the Permanent Council. And this was based on the head of the Institute's note about the current financial situation. This is in document CPM 10895/26. I would like to let the ASG speak, but I see Argentina is asking for the floor. Argentina, can our ASG first make her presentation? Okay, but you will be first. ASG, Laura Hill, you have the floor, madam. Thank you very much, Chair. I thank you for this opportunity to refer to the note of the Secretary General, who is not with us here today. I want to briefly share with the Permanent Council the information in that note. On 23rd March, the Secretary General had a meeting with Antonio Camposano, the Secretary General of the Pan American Institute of Geography and History, and he expressed his concern about the financial situation of the Institute. Our Secretary General sent out a detailed release about the challenges the Institute was facing, and that the member states analyze the situation and that they recommend actions to be taken. The institute, which was created in 1928, was incorporated in the Inter-American system as a specialized organ of the OAS, consolidating itself as an institute for technical consultation, one of the oldest in the Inter-American system. As its 100th anniversary is coming up, it would be valuable to continue to support it and recognize its value and its contribution to the scientific sector, and also to helping the geospatial information and strengthening capacity with respect to geodesia. And this also helps regional connectivity based thereon, and given the note of the Secretary General and the information shared by the Institute, the General Secretariat believes that this information should be considered further by member states in the committee that they consider most suitable, which could be the CAP. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, ASG, for your presentation. And now I'd like to offer the floor first to Argentina and then Mexico.
Llama la asistencia técnica, embajador.
Ambassador, 1 second. We have technical assistants coming to help you.
Pero no queda en el registro ni en los intérpretes.
Gracias.
Thank you. I told you that I could speak without a microphone. Well, the truth is, I wasn't going to ask for the floor with respect to this item, but above all, since the Institute has a special General Assembly coming up very soon, I think that any kind of body within the OAS should be discussed, since they're having their General Assembly coming up. And I wanted to express my rejection of the Secretary General's of the Institute's letter, because they talk, or he talks about how some countries have not met their obligations with the Institute, but that has not mentioned all the countries that have a debt with the Institute. I don't think it is positive to do finger pointing at some countries and leave other countries out. I disagree with this work methodology, and I believe that any country that has been pointed out as having a debt that has been not met, or that is in default with the Institute, would feel bothered by something like that. I think we need to deal with the financial situation of the Institute, and I think that within the special General Assembly that's been convened, well, I think that this could be discussed. I don't think it needs to be discussed here or in CAP, because the Institute has this GA coming up, and it could be discussed there by member states. And we respect the director or the Secretary General of the Institute. We respect the goals of that institute, but we did not like to have fingers pointed at us when, or in a specific way, We don't know why we were identified and not all countries were identified. I believe this is a collective problem. It's not a problem of an individual country. So again, Chair, I apologize for requesting the floor. Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. We take note of your observations. They will be included in the minutes of the meeting, and we understand the weight of your words. And now we wanted to give the floor to Mexico. Thank you very much, Chair. First of all, we wanted to thank the Secretary General for including this item on our agenda to evaluate the difficult situation of the Pan American Institute of Geography and History, which has been part of the Inter-American system for almost 100 years. And for that reason, I believe that it is worthwhile looking at their situation. And we see that in short order, they will have to close down. When this is an institute that has made incredible contributions to scientific research in furtherance of our countries, and has an incredible library and database that Mexico has been supporting since 1929. We have also depended on their technical assistance. The Institute does not receive resources from our regular fund. And I think this should be discussed at CAP. We want to exhort member states, those who have had any relationship with the Institute, that we make good on our commitments to the Institute. And of course, we understand the right of the ambassador of Argentina to reject finger pointing, but we believe the director needs to call upon all of us to ensure the viability of this institute that is so important for all of our states. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, señor.
Thank you, Ambassador Encinas. Of course, the chair only facilitates the decisions of the plenary. And it seems to me we have two different proposals that are being put forward. One is that this is looked at by CAP in detail under the chairmanship of Brazil. I would also like to hear the position of Ambassador Belle, and the other possibility would be to invite the director of the Institute after their special General Assembly and hear a report from him. As the ambassador of Argentina said, this will be looked at the next special GA. In keeping with what the director said, we could request a technical report that could be read here before the Permanent Council and not send it to CAP. So I want member states to decide, should we wait for the Institute situation to be looked at the special GA? And then move forward. Argentina. First of all, Chair, I wanted to support what Ambassador Encinas has said with respect to supporting the institutions. I didn't see any difference in the position between Mexico and Argentina. Maybe Mexico can clarify this. I think we both believe that the message, and I don't want to misinterpret my dear friend from Mexico, I think he exhorted us to do something to create awareness of the situation, but not do what needs to be done within the Institute at its special GA. So I think that we can all decide the best procedure. but I do believe we need to wait. I don't think we should duplicate efforts. I don't know, perhaps I misinterpreted my dear colleague from Mexico, and if that is the case, I apologize. I thought we were on the same page. Thank you very much, Ambassador. I would like to give the floor to Mexico. I reiterate my proposal is to exhort and urge all member states to make good on our commitments to the Institute to ensure its viability. And it can continue on with its procedures to make its own decisions. Thank you, Ambassador Belli, the president or the chair of CAP. Just to support my colleague from Mexico, the CAP has no role to play here because the CAP is charged with the administration and finance of the Organization of American States and not other organs or bodies of the Inter-American system. So just to recall that the CAP has no role to play. However, we do agree that we need to urge all countries, Brazil also, and we've worked with the Institute. I'm speaking in Spanish, I think, right? I'm going to go on and move on to Portuguese then. I hear Spanish all the time from my colleagues, so it just came out. I'm almost Argentine, you know, almost. I've almost been turned into an Argentine. So we support the work of the Institute, and its inaugural session in the 20s took place in Rio. And since 2011, we have not been able to make contributions, but I think we're going to resolve that and take up our contributions once again, because the Institute is fundamental thanks to their research and their historical contribution made to the Inter-American system. So I wanted to tell my dear colleague from Mexico, we recognize that we have a long-standing debt with the Institute. We are in the latter phase of resolving that. And as from 2018, we have created a body that will help us resolve any debt owed to different international bodies. Thank you, Ambassador Belli, and I'd like to give the floor to the Ambassador of Ecuador.
Muchas gracias, embajador.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Solano, and thank you very much for all of your excellent initiatives thus far as chair. Thank you also to the ASG, Dr. Laura Gil, for being here, and thank you also for your leadership within this Permanent Council and all of your support for it. I would like to thank the Ambassador of Brazil, our dear colleague, Ambassador Belli, for speaking Spanish. Since we are just about to commemorate a week of the Spanish language, and I'd like to invite all ambassadors who speak Spanish to do so during that special week to pay tribute to the Spanish language. I encourage you to speak it as much as you can during that special week. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for that relevant observation. Allow me now, if you so agree, since everyone seems to be on the same page, we will take note of the message from Mexico urging all member states to honor their commitments to the Institute, and to also thank the Secretary General for referring this matter to us, and to say that we look forward to receiving a report at the Special Assembly as indicated in the note. And if you so agree, this is what we can do. We take note of the message from the Ambassador of Mexico, take note of the situation, and tell the Secretary General that we are awaiting a report on the upcoming Special General Assembly of the Institute. Are you all in agreement with this proposal? Yes? So agreed. Thank you to everyone who took part in this discussion. Moving now to the third point, which was also submitted by the Secretary General to the Permanent Council, which has to do with the strategic plan of the OAS for 2026-2030. In line with the request by the Secretary General contained in document CP Doc 6198/26, so that it can be analyzed along with the draft program budget for the organization, which also requests that the CAP reports to the Permanent Council on the outcomes of its deliberations and the recommendations that it deems relevant before the 56th regular session of the General Assembly. If you so agree, we can confirm receipt of the strategic plan and agree to forward it to the CAP if you all agree with that roadmap. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to receiving the analysis and report. We look very much forward to receiving this. Ambassador Belli, you have a lot of work to do, but we know that the CAP is in very good hands with you. So agreed. Item 7 now. Considering matters referred by the CAP as agreed at its meeting on March 24th, with the recommendation that all be approved. These are documents that are submitted for your consideration, to wit, the draft resolution entitled Implementation of the General Assembly Mandate on the merger of the Office of Relations with Civil Society and the civil society component of the Department of Summits. This is document CP CAP 4233/26. Second document, draft resolution entitled Authorization of an Exception to the Applicable Indirect Cost Recovery ICR rate for a CAP contribution in support of the Office of National Identification of Haiti. Document CP CAP 4235/26. And the third document, the proposed draft terms of reference for establishment and functioning of the Internal Oversight and Implementation Committee of the OAS. Document CP CAP 4234/26. If all member states so agree, we can approve these documents. All documents are hereby approved. Thank you very much, everyone, for your collaboration. Moving on now to item 8. For this item, we ask if we can approve all of the minutes that were submitted for your consideration. CP Acta 2442, special meeting held on August 10, 2023. CP Acta 2445, joint meeting held on August 30th, 2023. CP Acta 2446, special meeting held on September 1st, 2023. CP Acta 2447, regular meeting held on September 5th, 2023. CP Acta 2448, special meeting held on September 7th, 2023. CP Acta 2551, special meeting held on May 30th, 2025. CP Acta 2581, regular meeting held on February 18th, 2026. CP Acta 2582, special meeting held on March 4th, 2026. If all member states so agree, we can now approve these minutes. So approved. Moving on to the next item. We have come to the end of our order of business in record time, if I may say. Thank you all for your collaboration. I now offer you the floor for this agenda item, and as you know, this is governed by our rules of procedure, and it is only for sharing information for informational purposes in accordance with Article 45C of the Rules of Procedure, and the chair will call to order any representative whose remarks are not merely for informational purposes. Suriname has the floor.
Madam Chair, my delegation wishes to share with this council that yesterday Suriname paid its final respects to former President Chandrika Persat Santokhi, marking a moment of national remembrance of his service to the nation. President Santokhi dedicated his life to public service and to the strengthening of democracy, the rule of law, and good governance in Suriname. My delegation also wishes to inform that the Book of Condolences has been opened at the Permanent Mission of Suriname and will be available today and tomorrow for those who may wish to pay their respects. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. And we sympathize with this time of mourning, and we look forward to signing the book. Thank you very much for sharing that with us so that we may support you. Jamaica has the floor.
Very much, Madam Chair, and I am obliged to congratulate you since it's the first time I'm speaking under your chairmanship as PC. Just to remind that this afternoon at 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., there's a book launch entitled Destination Reputational Resilience by the Honorable Edmund Bartlett, Minister of Tourism of Jamaica. And this will be held in the Hall of the Americas. And all is invited. Thank you very much. All are invited. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much for your kind words and for telling us about the event. We take note. Argentina. Thank you, Chair. I have 2 items to share under other business. We'd like to inform you that this week, the family of an Argentine citizen and an Argentine NGO made a presentation to the IACHR denouncing torture and arbitrary detention and forced disappearance, as well as serious violations of human rights of Armando Giuliani, an Argentine citizen, and precautionary measures are urgently requested. This presentation has been published by these individuals and by the press, so we are not violating the confidentiality of this initiative in any way. The second point is that Argentina wishes to inform the Council of an important event for our country: the participation of the microsatellite in the Artemis mission of NASA from the Kennedy Space Center. Argentina was the only country in the region to take part in this mission, and one of 4 countries globally, along with Germany and South Korea. This is especially important. It's the first mission manned to orbit the moon in nearly half a century. This is a CubeSat, which was designed in Argentina as part of our space program with the participation of various public universities and the National Commission on that matter. This is a demonstration of technological expertise and national abilities to design these spacecraft and to take part in these missions. All of this information is being made available. And this offers an opportunity for the region to demonstrate that Latin America and the Caribbean should not just be users of technology, but also developers, partners, and providers of initial international initiatives for peaceful exploration of space, as mentioned on X. And we are very grateful that this information was shared on X. Thank you. Thank you very much for this information. This is a very interesting topic that we could also look at in CD. So we could also do this under the chairmanship of Uruguay. Seeing no further requests for the floor, we now conclude this first session led by Costa Rica. Thank you all so much for your support. And seeing no further business, meeting adjourned. Thank you.